Right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us and taking a bit of time out of your day to come and find out a little bit more about Enterprise and who we are and what we've got to offer. My name's Paul Hanrahan, and I'm going to be one of your hosts during the next sort of half an hour, 40 minutes or so, or thereabouts. And I'll be taking you through a little bit about Enterprise, the company, who we are, what we do, how we do it, and hopefully sort of filling in and answering some of the questions that you may have sort of from there. I'm also going to be joined by a couple of colleagues from Enterprise as well. I'm just going to ask them to come onto the screen and say hello now. So Graeme, if I just come to you first.
Hi everyone, I'm Graeme. I work in recruitment marketing in Scotland and Ireland.
And Mel, if we come over to you, across the sea.
Hiya, I'm Melanie. I am branch manager of Enterprise Repticar in the Butler Road in Belfast.
Fantastic. Now, we'll hear a little bit more from both Graeme and Mel later on when we move into the question and answers session. But for the time being, just for the next 15 minutes or so, it's going to be myself, and I'm just going to talk you through a little bit about Enterprise. Now, as the opening slide says, my name is Paul Hanrahan, and I'm the talent acquisition specialist here at Enterprise. And what that is just a very glamorous job title for a graduate recruiter. So my day job is engaging with people like yourselves, whether that is on campus, whether it is through LinkedIn or through some of the other job boards that we work with, whether it's through academic services, faculties at university, whatever it might be, but trying to find the best talent that we can for our business here at Enterprise. Now, in terms of Enterprise as a business, for those of you that may or may not have heard about us, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background, a bit of a history lesson in terms of who we are and where we've come from. And Enterprise now is quite an old company. We were founded all the way back in 1957, and we were set up by one person, by a family man, a chap called Jack Taylor. Fast forward 6 decades, where we are now, we are still privately owned by the Taylor family, and we are now third generation Taylors at the helm. So our current CEO is Chrissy Taylor, who is the granddaughter of Jack, so the granddaughter of the founder when the company was set up. And as you can see, over the last 6 decades, we have come a long way from those humble beginnings that we had. And we now boast some quite impressive numbers. We turn over about $22 billion. We employ around about 80,000 people across the globe, operate nearly a couple of million vehicles in nearly 10,000 locations. And we can be found in over 90 different countries across the globe. So we are today a truly global organization. And the organization has changed and diversified a little bit over the years, and that's what's enabled us to be so successful. Our business model, the fact that we're privately owned, the sustainability in the way we do things has enabled us to venture out into different markets and to continue to change and grow as our customers and as the markets dictate. So we are now much more than just a car rental company. We are now a transport or a mobility solution provider. And we'll come on to what that means in a moment in a bit more depth. But the way that we've been successful over the years is through providing world-class customer service. It was Andy Taylor, Jack's son, who had the reins as CEO during the 80s, 90s, and into the noughties, who described Enterprise as a customer service company that happened to rent cars. That was how he perceived the business. We are all about customer service, providing that sort of experience to our customers that is going to bring them back time and time again, that builds that customer loyalty, that brand loyalty. And as such, our brand and our portfolio of businesses has grown a little bit over recent years. So we are now just more than Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We have 2 other car rental companies under our banner, both Alamo and National. But we also then have some of our more specialist services as well. So we have Enterprise Car Club. This is a fully automated subscription service that we offer where our vehicles are parked on a public space or on a side street. Customers sign up to the membership program, they're given a membership card, and they're able to use our vehicles by holding it against the windscreen of the car. The car unlocks, keys are in the glove box, and they drive off. And they can use those vehicles for an hour, a couple of hours, and then return them to the bay where they picked them up from. We have our exotics range, which is things like the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, the Bentleys, and those nicer vehicles. And we also have our commercial division, the flexi rent division of the business, which looks more at those larger trucks, the refrigerated trucks and commercial vehicles. And the idea and why I describe this as a transport and mobility solution provider is we have a product, we have a service that will meet our customers' needs, whatever that is. So whether they need to move goods, whether they need to provide services, whether they need to provide people, we've got a vehicle that will meet those needs. And they can use those vehicles by the hour, the day, the week, the month, the year. It doesn't matter sort of what it is that they need. We even do long-term leasing, so up to 3 and 5 years on our vehicles. And would you believe, if you want to know just how far we've diversified our product range, that Enterprise is actually the largest renter of golf buggies on the planet. So we've got more golf buggies across the golf courses than any other company in the world. So it's certainly a lot more to us than just renting cars. Now, we've spoken a little bit about how the business has grown and how we've expanded, but there's one thing that is still very true, and it's the way that enterprise likes to reflect its values and the way that it likes to be perceived and the way that it does business. And we've actually got a set of founding values, company values, that were put in place back in the late 50s by Jack that are still in place today that all of us as employees live by. And they group together quite nicely, and we'll look at a couple of them in a bit more depth. So the first two on the left of the screen as you look at it, talking about the brands being the most valuable thing that we own, and talking about personal honesty, integrity being the foundation of our success. This talks about how we like to do business, the fact that we are an ethical company, the fact we try to do things in the right way. We never do anything at the detriment of the service we provide to our customers or the environment that we create within our branches for our teams. So it's all about that brand image, that perception within the marketplace. We then have a couple of others that group together quite nicely, and that's on the top right of the screen. And it talks about customer service being our way of life, and great things happen when we listen to our customers and to our employees. So this comes back to the point that I alluded to that Andy Taylor made, where he said that we're a customer service company. It is what we do. And just an example of how we listen to our customers, I mentioned the car club service that we have. That was born out of our customers telling us they didn't want to come and rent a vehicle with the physical constraints of a rental branch with a counter and at a time that we were open and that suited us. They told us they wanted a car any time of the day for shorter periods of time, and they want the convenience of being able to pick it up when it suited them. So we listened, and Car Club was born. The next two that go together, and it's a shame they're not together on the graphic, is looking more at the people side of the business. So thinking about rewarding hard work, creating the sort of environment that's fun and that's friendly and that is very team driven. And this is what's important to us, because we can't expect our employees to look after the business and look after our brands, look after our customers, if we don't look after them in the right kind of way as well. So we provide opportunity, progression, we recognize and reward performance. We create an environment that is open and inclusive and welcoming to all. And then the last couple we're going to look at, and we're going to go into these in a bit more depth, are strengthening the communities one neighbourhood at a time, and our doors are open. And we'll start with strengthening the communities. And what this really looks at is enterprises' environmental, sustainability, corporate social responsibility, and also its philanthropic initiatives, whichever you want to call it. And there's just 4 of the global ones that are on the screen here. So Roots and Roots is looking at clean waterways and investing in sort of rivers and sort of making sure that every sort of country we operate in has got those clean water sources. We've got the 50 million tree project. And this isn't something that's just been born out of the last few months with the COP26 and environmental impacts of businesses. We've actually been investing in reforestation, decarbonisation and environmental projects for a long, long time. And back in 2007, as part of our 50th anniversary celebrations, the Taylor family pledged $50 million to the planting of 50 million trees across the next 50 years. Fast forward to where we are now, so nearly 15 years in, as we close in on 2022, we've already planted in excess of 16 million trees. So over here in the UK, for example, we've done some reforestation down in the New Forest on the south coast. We've done some in Sherwood Forest in Nottinghamshire. We've also done some up on the Scottish and Islands and Highlands as well. So it's certainly something that we're looking to make sure that although we have an impact as a business in the way we operate, the Taylor family try to do something about it. We try to give something back. Now, I see that we've had a question pop into the chat box, and I'll come to all of the questions sort of once I finish the actual sort of presentation slide of this. And we'll deal with those when we get to Graeme and when we get to Mel. Now, the other one that I wanted to touch on was the Fill Your Tank initiative. And this isn't something that is to do with the recent fuel crisis that we've had over here in the UK. This is actually to do with fighting food and hunger insecurity, food poverty. And it's a very simple premise that no child should go to school on an empty tummy. So it's working with food banks, it's working with breakfast clubs, after school clubs, yes, providing financial support and donations through the Enterprise Holdings Foundation, but also allowing our employees to get involved as well and going and giving time and talent and volunteering at these sorts of things. So for example, myself, I live down in Bournemouth, right on the very south coast of the UK. The closest food bank to me that we partner with is in Southampton, so about 30 miles away. But I've gone and I've actually helped put together food parcels, loaded them into the vans, gone out with their drivers and helped distribute them around the community. So these are just some of the examples that we do to try and give back to the communities where we do our business. Now, the other one that I wanted to go into in a little bit more depth is the doors open policy. And this doesn't mean that our customers can walk in 24/7 at any time of the night. What it actually means is that our doors are open and we're welcoming and inclusive to all. And we are one of only 8 organisations in the UK that has been recognised within the last 12 to 18 months in all of the major strands of diversity and inclusion. So we're currently in the 2021 Times Top 50 listing for where women would want to work. We entered the very first listing all the way back in 2005, and we have never left it. We've been in every one since, and we've recently submitted our entry for 2022. We are in the top 75 social mobility employers index, and hot off the press as of December, so this one is actually now out of date and I need to update it from the last time I ran this presentation, we are now in the top 10 in terms of that employer listing. So for 2021 we broke into the top 10 for the first time, and this is looking at those type of people that maybe are coming from a lower socioeconomic background, that maybe are coming from a background that would be perhaps deemed less privileged, maybe don't have the same opportunity that some of their more privileged counterparts may have. So for those of you that are at university or a part of the university world, it's looking at widening access, widening participation, and trying to level the playing field, giving the same opportunity to everybody regardless of their backgrounds. We're in the top 100 LGBTQ+ for Stonewall in terms of their listing, and we're also got recently recognised in the NUE awards for Best Diversity Initiative, and this is relating to our race and ethnicity programmes that we've run. And I'm sure that Graeme will talk about our Inspiring Future Leaders programme, which he had a big hand in, that we ran through Black History Month back in October. So Graeme, if you're listening, make sure you bring that up when you're talking later on. And one that isn't on the screen as well, and just recently we've been recognised as a disability confident leader within the 2-tick standard in terms of making accommodations and adjustments so that everybody can participate in our process. So as such, because of all the things that we do, we're recognised in all of the major job listings. So as you start your graduate and your placement search, you will come across Enterprise in the Times Top 100, the Guardian Top 300, the Rate My Placement Top 100 listing as well. You will certainly start to see us around. But the way that I think about our doors open policy is a very simple premise. It doesn't matter whether you are male or female, black or white, gay or straight. It doesn't matter what background you come from. Everybody is given the same opportunity at Enterprise, and it is down to you as an individual to bring the true self, the real self that is you, to Enterprise and to perform and to exceed and excel within it as well. We create that same opportunity for everyone that comes through our doors. So you're probably wondering about those opportunities. What do we offer? So we offer a management training program, and this is available with 3 different entry routes into it. We offer a short-term summer internship, which normally runs between June and September. So it's for people that are either going from their first to their second or their second to their final year at university. And it's a 90-day internship and it's paid, and you can come into our business and get a bit of a taster for our graduate program. So just a chance for you to see what we do and how we do it. We then offer a full 12-month placement, and this is available for those that are going from their second and into a year in industry before they complete their final year. And you get treated exactly the same as our full graduates do, given the same training, the same opportunity, the same development along the way. And then lastly, we offer the full graduate level role. So a chance for you to join us once you finish university, when you finish your studies, and come in and start your career and move up through the ranks from there. And what we do is we put you into one of our branches and we have you working in a very fast pace, in a customer-facing environment with the team, learning on the job. So it's an operational role, lots of one-on-one customer interaction, a little bit of sales, working with our products, with our services, and providing that world-class service that our customers expect from us. But behind the scenes, and the clues in the job title in management training, we are training you to be a manager with us. So we're going to give you exposure to the people side of the business in terms of how you would train and develop and coach and get the best out of a team. The numbers side, so get you playing around with the profit and loss statement and really understanding how you can impact it through things like cost control and revenue generation, right the way through then to the account management and the marketing piece. So actually teaching you to go into the marketplace and to grow the business and build relationships and engage with that customer base to make sure that we get the most out of them. So it's a very varied role. It's a very fast-paced environment. It's very people-oriented, but it is all about progression. We are not hiring you to be management trainees or placement students for the rest of your career. We are hiring you to be future managers, future leaders. And you can get to that assistant manager promotion in as little as 12 to 18 months into your career with us. Branch manager is around about 2 to 2.5 years. So it's certainly very, very quick up to those first couple of promotions. And the beauty of the way that we do the training is you are mentored and you are trained and you're coached and you are supported by people that have been through the program that you're going through. So my career path, for example, admittedly, it started over 2 decades ago, but I started as a graduate, as a management trainee, worked my way through the business up to branch manager before moving across into HR, recruitment and training and development, which is where I sit now. My manager did the same. She progressed up to area manager before moving across into HR. And would you believe that even Chrissy Taylor, so the founder's granddaughter, our current CEO, started as a management trainee in one of our branches, renting cars, working with our customers, understanding the business from the bottom up and learning what it is like to be in those roles, so that when she is making decisions in terms of the future of the business, she understands the impact that it has on the very lowest rung of the ladder. So this is what we offer. We genuinely offer a career path, a chance to really progress and have a career with us here. Now, in case you're interested in other opportunities, if you're not interested in the branch side of things, we do also have some home-based contact center type roles as well. This will take you to that page that's on our website. So if you're looking to work remotely, maybe customer facing isn't your thing, we do have these types of roles as well. But these are less readily available, but it's worth mentioning in terms of the opportunities that we do have. So if you're not watching on your phone and you've got the ability to scan the QR code, do so now, and this will take you to a different section of our website, and you can see some of the alternative roles that we recruit into as well. So I'll just leave that up just for a few seconds, just while I subconsciously count from 5 through to 1, and then we'll move on to the last couple and wrap up from there before I hand over to Graeme and to Mel. Now, in terms of what we look for, in terms of the skill set that we're after, we actually look for a very, very simple set of skills. And the only sort of hard skill, technical skill that I say that we really look for is customer service. We want people that are coming from a very much a customer-facing, a people-oriented background, that have got that experience of working with the public and working with customers. So whether that is in retail, hospitality, a contact center, but something that is people-oriented. But then the rest of the skills that we look for are more of those employability, those transferable, those softer skills, whichever term you're familiar with. So it's looking at things like communication. So we want people that are articulate, that are able to communicate with a diverse range of people and tailor their communication style to that situation. We want people with a strong work ethic. So people that aren't afraid of a bit of hard work, that aren't afraid to put a little bit of graft in where they need to, put in that extra hour when things go wrong to get the job done. We want a bit of flexibility and adaptability, so that ability to multitask and juggle different things, wear lots of hats and keep a lot of different plates spinning throughout the day. We want people with a sales aptitude, so that ability to influence, to persuade, to negotiate and to compromise, and to have the bravery just to get into a conversation with our customer and say, this is the product and the service that we offer. Is it of interest to you? Because we can teach the technical side of sales, we can teach the value of our products, what they mean to our customers, we can teach to objection handle and to trial close, but all we need is for you as an individual just to have that bravery to have that conversation in the first place. And then the last thing that we look for is leadership. And I always think that team working should be on this bit as well, because you can't be a good leader without understanding the team as well. So we look for that bit of leadership, that bit of team working, that ability to engage other people, to motivate and to work in a team towards a common goal. And the way that we assess that is in a very short and a very personal way. And we start with an online application. So part of our call to action off the back of this call that we're doing today is to ask all of you that are on it to go and complete your online application so that we can start the formal recruitment process with you. So hopefully that will be your big takeaway by the end of this session, is to go away and do your online application. From there, that is then screened by a real person. We don't do AI screening or anything like that. Myself and one of the members of my team will go through and manually screen those application forms, looking for those skills that we identified on the slide previously. You then do a short telephone interview, which only lasts about 10 minutes, and it's just checking the basics required for the job, those core competencies that we have, and really checking to make sure that you can hold a 10-minute conversation with somebody, so that if we were to put you in one of our branches with our customers, you'd be able to speak to them comfortably and chat with them. So really assessing that communication skill. We then move into a virtual interview, and the good news is this isn't a pre-recorded virtual interview. It is face-to-face, it is live, it is with a real person. So again, one of the recruitment team. And this is very competency-based. So it's looking for those real-life examples, those situations that you've been in, things you've handled, the action you took and the outcome that you got with it. So draw on all of the experiences you've had. Is the best example that you've got for leadership when you've captained the sports team? Is the best example that you've got for customer service in your part-time job when you were working in retail? Is the best example of your sales experience being part of a society at university and trying to generate new membership at the Freshers' Fair? But think about where that experience, where that skill could be demonstrated. The last stage in our process, and I'm sure that Mel will talk about this when she comes to speak in a moment, is the branch visit. And for me, this has always been the most crucial part of our process, because this is an opportunity for you to go into one of our branches to get to meet the team that you're potentially going to be working with. So to get a chance to get a feel for the company culture, the working environment, observe the role in action, and really use it as a two-way process to make sure that we're right for you as much as we're assessing and making sure that you're right for us. And at the end of that, there is an interview with the branch manager and the area manager. So a chance just to kind of go over any of those final questions that you may have. And assuming come the end of that branch visit that you like us and that we like you, then there's the job offer onto the management training programme. Now, the last slide that I'm going to leave you with before I drop the slide deck and invite Graeme and Mel to come onto camera is just our social channels. If you'd like to see some of the things that Enterprise is doing on a broader scale, on a national or an international scale, in terms of the diversity and inclusion, maybe some of the philanthropy side of things, or just some of the things that myself and Graeme get up to from a recruitment perspective, please do look us up on the social channels. Please do connect with us on LinkedIn. Myself and Graeme absolutely will accept all connection requests off the back of this call as well. And as we're going through, I'll start to pull some of the different links off of LinkedIn and pop them in the chat box for you as well, so you can connect directly with us. But otherwise, that is all that I wanted to cover with you. I hope you found the last 15 to 20 minutes insightful. I hope you found it useful. I hope that there's some things there that may surprise you and might trigger some discussion as we move into the Q&A. But without further ado, I will shut up, I will stop speaking, and I will hand it over to my good friend Graeme and over to Mel. So, GB, take us home.
Thank you, Paul, for that, what I class as a top-end whistle-stop tour of Enterprise. And the fact that I always have there's one of these slides, everyone who's tuned in today, and there's the word philanthropic, which when you're under a little bit of pressure on a webinar is really difficult to say. So absolute kudos to Paul for getting it right first time, as I definitely wouldn't have done that. So Mel, thank you ever so much for giving up some valuable time in your busy Wednesday, as I'm sure it is. I know that the reason everyone's really logged on today is to hear some words of wisdom from yourself. But before we kind of get into your top tips and to learn more about Enterprise, I would love to know, and if you're able to share just a very kind of brief story about how you came into contact with Enterprise and your kind of journey, because it's something which is a tremendous story. So if you would like to start just by sharing that would be grand.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have worked with Enterprise now for 5 years. I currently run the biggest branch in Northern Ireland, and my fleet size is 300 cars. I started the programme as an intern. So I started on a 12-month internship. And how I got into contact with Enterprise was at one of the careers fairs at university. I was studying business studies with marketing at the time, and I kind of loved the aspect of marketing, but more on like a face-to-face kind of thing, as opposed to kind of what I was learning at university, which was a lot of social media and stuff like that. So I got to hear about the Graduate Management Programme, and what kind of triggered to the need for me to want to be in this company was the fact that they only promoted from within. And that everything was kind of based on work ethic as opposed to ability. And I knew if I got in the door, I would definitely be a success. So I got in. Graeme was my recruiter at the time. I started my 12-month internship, and I worked in a branch in Northern Ireland. After 8 months, I rotated to an airport location, which was phenomenal because I got to see two sides of the business in my internship: a home city location, which is in the city, and then a branch at the airport. Oh, there's someone living in Dublin. So then 12 months, as soon as I started my internship, I knew straight away that it was a company for me. I loved the fact that everything was about work ethic, customer service, and your drive to be successful. And I knew that, to be honest, after 8 months, I did my management qualification, which means I was basically signed off to be at the level performing as an assistant manager. And at that stage, I was almost sad that I had to go back to university because I just wanted to be promoted straight away. So I ended up working part-time in my final year, and then fast forward to graduation, it was a few weeks after I graduated, a position opened as an assistant manager in an airport in Belfast, and I was successful in that role. So I ran an airport as an assistant manager for 8 months, and at that stage I was promoted to a branch manager. So really within like very fast career, I was running my own branch, and I don't think I ever really knew what I was doing, but I won it every day, and here I am running an extremely successful branch, and all my team are delighted to be here.
Amazing. And did you find, was your placement experience the same as everybody else on your course? Because we often say that a placement enterprise is a bit different to some of the other placements that people do.
I mean, from that aspect, my colleagues didn't know if I was an intern or if I was at graduate level, you know, so you're on the exact same program and you still go through the same management qualification that you're working towards as a graduate would be as well.
Yeah, made a big difference. And you mentioned there, Mel, in your story that you worked in both kind of one of our city centre locations, but also the airport. For those people joining the call, what are some of the differences between working for enterprise in the airport and working in the kind of the home city locations? Because that question comes up a lot as well.
I mean, both are equally as enjoyable. The home city locations are more focused on kind of logistics and stuff like that, whereas at the airport all your customers come to you, so it's more of a kind of, well, it is kind of logistics as well, but it's also more like fleet planning in advance, so you'd be planning 3 months in advance, whereas at a home city location everything's kind of on the day. You're just working with kind of stuff that comes straight to you, like breakdown and stuff like that.
So it's good to get the both side of things. And then from your kind of experience, let's start with the easy one. What is the thing that you enjoy the most about working at enterprise? Because obviously you've been here now for kind of for 5 years, so you obviously enjoy it. So what would you say is that if you were to pin it down to one thing?
Probably the fact that I get to run my own business. As in, I come in the door and this is my branch. I'm in complete control of it. So I'm in complete control of the customer service that my employees give that make my customers come back. I'm in complete control of new business and existing business. I'm in complete control of developing my employees. Obviously, as a company that only promote from within, it's very important. Like, I'm only as good as the people that are going to come behind me. Like, I'm going to move on and be promoted soon, and I need the person behind me to be able to step into my role straight away. So really just the fact that I'm in complete control of my business and I run it as if it's my own.
Yeah. So question, did you think because I remember when we did your assessment centre and I remember when we offered you the position, did you think back then when you were joining as an intern that if you fast forwarded 4 or 5 years, you'd be in the position you're in now?
I mean, I knew that I was coming in and I wasn't going to stop until I was successful. But in terms of where I am now, like some of my friends, my close friends, are a lot more capable than me. But I certainly earn a lot more than them. And that's something that I'm really proud of, is that some of my friends have 3 degrees but are earning substantially less than me. So I think the earning potential is something that is just unbelievable. You're in complete control of what you earn.
Absolutely, and it's great to hear. And again, that's the same for everyone joining enterprise. When you get to that assistant manager level and above, you get paid from the bottom line of the business that you run. So, Mel's mentioned a lot about running the business, so you sharing those rewards that come with it as well. So Mel, what's next for you? What's the next logical step with your career?
So for me now, I feel like I've mastered being a branch manager. So I am looking at going for area manager positions. So that would mean for me now, instead of being in charge of a 300-car fleet and 8 members of staff, I would be in charge of, say, 6 or 7 branches, and probably over 1,000 cars.
How do you go? So for everyone on the call, how do you go from being a branch manager to an area manager? What are some of the differences or the steps that you need to take to get to that next level?
Well, for me, I have managed a smaller branch, so I mastered that, and I've now run a flagship branch, and I'm also covering kind of a second branch at the moment as well too. But I think just with that now, it's no longer about, whenever you're running your own branch, it's all about your branch, and your branch is your baby, and your staff are your, everything's about your branch. Whereas now I'm looking kind of bigger picture side of things, is like how I can impact the area and how my decisions every day can affect the whole of Northern Ireland as opposed to just one branch in it.
Wow, that's impressive stuff indeed. Now, Paul mentioned in his presentation the kind of recruitment process that we go through, and then the final stage of that recruitment process is the branch interview. So that's where, as Paul mentioned, just to recap, candidates spend half a day in one of the stores, could be lucky, could be one of the stores like Mel manages. And on that day, you'll be doing half a day of job shadowing as well as an interview with yourself. So I guess I know that there'll be some people on the call. We'd love to know your top tips. What makes a great applicant for you when you have someone who comes for a branch visit at your store? What are some things that you really look out for?
So the first thing I look for is, my motto is, you always dress for the job that you want. So I always look at appearance first of all, and literally just, does this person want a career? And that comes by just dressing for success, for dressing as if you are going to be a manager and a future leader. Second of all, interacting with customers. Obviously, you're there to shadow the job, but what I find phenomenal is whenever someone comes in for a branch visit and they actually interact with customers, I can see the customers enjoying the experience, and not be afraid to say to the customer, oh, I'm actually here today just to do a branch visit, just to see if I would be right for the company. And kind of, because that builds a rapport with the customer, and then you can kind of get a feel for, how conversations would go day to day. And I think just interacting with your colleagues and trying to enjoy the day as much as possible, because as much as you're there to see if you're right for us and that we're right for you, it needs to be an enjoyable experience. So just relax, interact with customers, interact with the employees that are working on the day, and really just try and get your personality to come across, what you're driven by, and what you're excited about to work for the company.
Amazing. Some great advice there. A whole heap of advice just in the space of literally a minute there. So I think some really valuable advice there on interaction and personality. I think is super, super important as this part. As Paul mentioned, as Mel mentioned, very customer facing job on the day-to-day sides of our business. So really important that you are able to engage with the customers as well. And I think as well, just on that note, you have to remember that you need to be interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you. You should be thinking, is this the right position for me? Is this somewhere that I want to commit to long term? Because it is a training and development program. We want you to really stay with the business, learn the trade, and be able to promote yourself up in a quick manner. So I think that's really, really important as well. Now, I'm just going to go to the chat. We've had a question about growth. So a lot of businesses talk about this at the moment, Mel, in terms of COVID bounce back. How can the business? Oh, I'm getting a little bit of. How can the business continue to kind of grow and move forward in that way? So, from your point of view, how is Enterprise on a day-to-day basis looking to kind of really grow and develop that business going forward in the local kind of area, I guess?
So obviously with COVID, our business was impacted a lot. The mentality that we had in Northern Ireland was that we wanted to keep everyone moving through the pandemic and bounce back as quickly as possible. So we really looked at kind of bigger picture stuff as to how we could change our business. So although we had a lot of setbacks in terms of a lot of our retail customers, in terms of people going on holiday and stuff like that, we didn't have as much of that business. And we were able to kind of turn it around and look at, well, where's the opportunity? So for example, there's a shortage of microchips, so it's harder to get cars into the UK and Northern Ireland and Ireland. So we looked at how that might be an opportunity for us, that car dealerships and body shops wouldn't have access to as many courtesy cars. So in actual fact, we had major growth throughout the pandemic because we were able to change our business around to say, here's an opportunity and how can we take that and run with it? And that's what it's all about, brainstorming with your colleagues to find kind of opportunity to get new business. And that's something on the graduate program that you would have, is direct impact as to how conversations in local body shops, dealerships, businesses and marketplaces, you can directly impact the growth of your business.
Absolutely. And the B2B or business to business marketing really comes into it. And for those of you joining the call, so Enterprise works with many different types of customers. So Mel, maybe it'd be great if you could just kind of do a very quick breakdown of our different kind of customer groups, because I know that's something that often comes up on the branch visit side of things as well.
Yeah, so I think initially everyone, certainly my friends and my family, assumed that I just rent cars to people going on holiday, but it's much broader than that. So first of all, you do have your retail customers, which would be customers coming over to visit family and friends, or customers coming to visit Northern Ireland, or customers that are on holiday. Then you have your corporate business, which is a lot of businesses use us for company cars and stuff like that, and that's a major part of our business. Then we have a lot of insurance work, so people that have been involved in accidents, and we get business from dealerships dealerships from courtesy car business, and from body shops with courtesy car business, and then we do a lot of breakdown contracts with BMW, Audi, Land Rover, and all the big ones we have the national contracts with. So it's major business.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for that nice little summary there. Just really kind of breaks it down. Because again, I was the same when I joined Enterprise, and I was based on the south coast of England. And people said, well, how many holiday makers do you get in the winter down there? So no, I think it does put it in perspective. Now, you mentioned in your intro and summary email about your team, that you manage a team of 8 people.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of incentives, or how do you kind of help motivate them and drive performance with your team on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so we obviously have sales competitions. So we have sales competitions, and then we have service competitions. So like we drive shout outs from customers. So whenever a customer returns, we ask them how the service was, and if they remember the person that served them. And my view is, if you provide excellent customer service, that customer should remember your name. So the team are quite competitive with getting shout outs on the return of the vehicle from that customer. And then just like, obviously with COVID, nights out aren't as frequent as they were, but we certainly do a lot of socially distanced nights out to celebrate sales successes, service successes, and growth successes. As well too with that is they're all in the graduate programme, so they're all aiming to be promoted to the next level. So there is a lot of healthy competition in the branch where they're all trying to kind of get one up on each other to see who's going to be the most successful.
Yeah, I can imagine. And are you able to share like some of the little prizes that they might get for winning? So if I win the customer service shout out competition in your branch, what do I win? What do I win?
Well, it's normally up to whatever you want. So there's a value that I will buy you a present. In my branch, it's probably most of the time is alcohol, because I think I have a team of alcoholics. But yeah, and then we also have like elite clubs and stuff where there'll be nights out once a month for the top performers. And in that, like my team last week were over in Edinburgh at the Christmas markets, and like going to like the Ivy in Edinburgh and stuff like that. So they get to travel for elite club if they are top of the sales performance.
Amazing. I saw that actually popped up on socials as well. That's grand. And then I just had another question in terms of community. So Paul mentioned, one of the values at Enterprise is all about supporting community. So I just wondered, I know your perspective is going to be more from Northern Ireland, but can you kind of just share anything that you and the team or in the region of Northern Ireland have done to support the local community?
Yeah, absolutely. So we run a lot of food banks. So at the moment we are getting together a food bank for delivering to sort of poor families over Christmas that won't be able to afford to have like a meal on the table. And then another thing we're doing at the moment is we're doing a partnership with the Children's Literary Trust. So this morning I've actually filled a van filled with books for local schools in Belfast. And it's basically just to help people reading and moving forward with their education for the younger generation. So yeah, a lot of food banks, and then we just do loads of like fundraising for the local communities for like refugees and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And children in need as well is a huge part, isn't it, as well?
Children in need is absolutely massive, yeah. So we do that every year, and then we do like November, and every branch will do their individual fundraising. I actually went to the Children in Need event last year, because I participated so much, so that was a nice wee reward.
Oh, lovely. Well, pleased to hear that indeed. And then we have a question from the chat, which I'll come to in a moment, but I really appreciate the questions that you've answered, Mel. So I guess what I always like to ask people who work at Enterprise, if you could give one piece of advice to people considering a career with Enterprise, what would you say? Why do you believe that people should take the plunge and apply and look to join Enterprise?
I just think like what you can achieve in a short space of time is phenomenal, and you wouldn't get that with any other company. Like I was a branch manager at 23, running my own business, and I almost had to pinch myself every day being like, I'm not capable of doing this, but I am, and I just think a lot of people go into large corporations and kind of get mixed up, whereas this one, it's all based on work ethic. Whatever you put into this, you will get out of it, and you can earn whatever you want in a short space of time.
Yeah, and just on that note, have you had much help and support along the way? Because you kind of mentioned a couple of times, was I ready to be a branch manager? I've been promoted very quickly. So for some people, that might be a little bit daunting.
Only because everyone pushes you because they know you're capable. And I think that's sort of such a nice thing about it is like you come to work every day to work with your friends, and everyone's interested in your development. So like my goal is to get my employees promoted as much as possible. And the reason why I'm here today is because people believed in me. So there's always people to help you along the way. And if you need any answer or any question answered, there's always someone you can ring for help. But yeah, like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of time have been put into my development. And that's now what I need to give back to the people.
Yeah. And has that always been through your area manager, or have you had other mentors that have helped you along the way?
That would be like, so I've had mentors in terms of like head office level, mentors, area managers, but then equally mentors that are kind of just one step above you. Like whenever I was a management trainee, my MAs kind of mentored me. Whenever I was an MA, my assistant manager mentored me. Whenever I was an assistant manager, all the branch managers mentored me. Do you know what I mean? So there's always someone to help you along the way.
That's amazing. That culture of kind of mentoring from every level, I think, is important. And as you and Paul have both mentioned, that's because we have that unique promote from within culture, which goes all the way up to the top, including our current CEO, Chrissy Taylor, our former CEO, Pamela Nicholson as well, both started as interns and graduates. So I'm going to leave the chat open if there's any kind of last questions. We are drawing to a close in just a moment. We have had a question come through from someone who's based specifically in Dublin, is looking more in the finance side of things. So I'll just answer that question. Day-to-day in finance at Enterprise, there's a number of positions, but the finance roles are really there to support the day-to-day operations, for example, that Mel looks after and runs, and it's much more consultative. So it's management accounting, but really learning how to really drive financial performance through the business, controlling costs, helping with revenue growth, and looking at all those kind of controllable elements as well, and kind of forecasting as we go forward. But those roles do come up every now and again on our corporate website, so you will be able to see those as well. So I'm just going to see if there's any other questions in the chat as well.
Graeme, there's one there about some recruitment tips. And I know that obviously you have put together our masterclass series of bite-sized sort of hints and tips for surviving the recruitment side of things. So do you just want to give an overview of what makes an application form stand out, how to survive that first interview, maybe, seeing as it's your baby for the foreseeable future?
Thanks for grabbing that. Yeah, and so just as Paul mentioned, we are hosting a number of webinars which are tracking student journey. So from how to stop your applications getting rejected, how to sell yourself in an interview, as well as how to land a job using social media and how to stand out in interviews. And these sessions are going to be running, we've had a couple already, but they're going to be running every Tuesday at 12 o'clock from the 11th of January going forward. And we can pop a link in for you as well on that one. But I guess top tips on the recruitment process. So how can I make this as bite-sized as possible? I think our application process is really short. We're not asking for hours upon hours of your time. You should be able to complete it within 10 to 20 minutes maximum. The application form itself is really just a longer version of a CV. So what I would say is really, really critical when you're applying is not just to copy and paste your CV across, but alongside that, what you really need to do is to make sure you link your experience with the competencies that we assess at Enterprise. So, Paul mentioned customer service is absolutely critical to us at Enterprise. So on that basis, does your application form to Enterprise reference customer service? Considering we just asked for your work experience, I would want to make sure that if I'm speaking about my experience of working in a bar or a restaurant or retail, wherever it is, how can I reference customer service in my application form? And again, communication is both verbal as well as written. So how accurate is my application form? Again, are there spelling and grammar typos? Is it clear, concise? Have I got someone to check it? We always say that Enterprise, when you apply, you should have what you call an app buddy or application buddy, which is somebody who's going to be able to help check your work as you go through, just to make sure there aren't spelling and typos. So I would say link to our competencies, all 6 of those, in your application form wherever possible. I would also say make sure you don't have any spelling and grammatical errors as well. But also as well, when you apply, it should be really, really clear on your application form why you're choosing to apply to Enterprise. We don't ask for a cover letter, but if you can work into your work experience, what's your connection to Enterprise? Are you passionate about customer service? Are you like Mel, who really wanted to learn and run her own business and work her way up and have that promote from within culture? Whatever it is, If you can get your connection story across in your application form, that is absolutely critical. And there's absolutely no harm in looking up who the regional recruiter is in the area as well and connecting directly with them as well. So that would be my advice on that one. We do have a question come through as well about sponsorship, and absolutely, we are open to sponsorship for visa-based students. You just have to pop it through in the application form. And in terms of starting salary, it does vary by region. We do have a London weighting in as well, and we can provide further information on that as well, just because it is different for various regions across the UK. We've also just had a question come through. Are there roles in other departments? There absolutely are. So Paul put that QR code up. Hopefully Paul can pop in the chat about roles in potential other departments as well. We do have specialist roles if you do have skills in that area, but the key and main opportunity does lie within our general operations field. For example, both myself and Paul work in recruitment. We don't have roles which are direct entry into recruitment. You do have to go through our management training program to show that you can run and manage a business successfully before you kind of segue or transfer, apply to one of those roles in the other department as well. But we do have a number of positions available on our careers website, but the primary opportunity exists in our operations and management field as well. Thank you, Paul, for popping in the chat. Other opportunities there as well. And then the other thing which I couldn't fail to speak about, as Paul mentioned, was our Inspiring Future Leaders program, which is something that we're doing in collaboration with Black History Month, which is going to be kicking off in the new year, which is going to be a leadership program specifically designed for Black History Month, well, on the basis of Black History Month, for Black students to really kind of upskill them in certain key areas, including leadership, communication, and resilience as well. But I think that is everything from myself. Paul, was there anything you wanted to add before we wrap up today?
Hold on 2 seconds, Graeme. I'm just popping in the head office roles as well, because there is actually a digital marketing position in there. So they are specifically about marketing. There's a digital marketing role advertised. So I'm just...
You pop that in the chat, that's absolutely fine. And I will pretend to play some elevator music. I'm not going to sing, you'll be pleased to know, to wrap up. But what I would just say is I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Mel for joining on and answering all your questions that we had. So Mel, thank you very much. You've been an absolute superstar in answering all those questions. And I just want to say thank you. I hope everyone's found the session useful. It will pop up on YouTube as well if you would like to have a rewatch. And I just want to say thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And we'll speak to all of you soon. Looking forward to seeing your applications come in, folks. Many thanks. Thanks a lot.